Alabama beats Oklahoma 34-24 in Norman, Oklahoma. First round of the playoffs, first game on a Friday night. All I can say is, first of all, that this was such a good environment. Like, Oklahoma put on a great show. And you could tell in the pregame ceremonies when they had, the college football desk out there, and they were out there. I mean, Desmond Howard said he changed his pick just because of what they were showing in the pregame with the laser show and just how hyped the crowd was. This game was everything about college football that we love on a national stage in a playoff scenario, and I just absolutely loved it. And then it was also a great football game. So let's get into that. What a turnaround for Alabama's offensive line, because going into the second quarter, after the first quarter, they had three and outs for a total of 12 yards. They weren't running the ball. They couldn't protect Ty Simpson for like more than a second, it felt like. And they were just, it looked like they were confused at whatever Venables was drawing up. The offensive line wasn't communicating well. Ty Simpson looked like his brain was a million different places all at once. And it didn't look good. It looked like the Bama of the past couple weeks of the regular season that we've seen. And then also in the SEC championship game. It was pretty rough. And obviously, 12 yards of offense in one quarter, not great. And then on the flip side, I mean, Alabama wasn't getting any pass rush to Mateer. I think they flushed him like one time in the first quarter. Other than that, he had all the time in the world to make a decision. It was just like on both sides of the ball, it looked like they were just like sluggish almost. Like, well, actually not sluggish, because Alabama's defense was rallying to the ball once the ball got out into space. They were flying to the ball, but they were missing a bunch of tackles, a lot of missed tackles, and I had a feeling it wouldn't stay that way the entire game, and sure enough, it didn't. Bama and Oklahoma. Bama had 5 sacks for 26 yards and 4 quarterback hurries. Similarly, Oklahoma had 4 sacks for 35 yards and 5 quarterback hurries. So you would think, oh, well, this profiled as like a pretty similar game for both teams. But it was just completely different within the game, because in the first quarter, Bama had all their pressures, all their sacks, not all of them, or Oklahoma had all their sacks, and then Bama wasn't getting any pressure, and then it completely flipped in that like halfway through the second quarter range, and the rest of the game, it was Bama who was putting the pressure on Mateer and getting to him, and it was Oklahoma who couldn't get anywhere within Ty Simpson, because the offensive line for Alabama was picking everything up. And Simpson was getting the ball out quickly and confidently. You could just tell there was a switch that flipped at one point when he just started attacking the middle. I think there was like a dig route or something to Cuevas that was right over the middle, and you could tell when he hit his 3-step drop and just delivered it over the middle. No hesitation to Cuevas, and they got like 20-something yards out of it. And I knew that was when Ty Simpson was back. Let's see. So yeah, like I said, the trenches completely flipped. The Bama offensive line finally got their sea legs out from under them, or they got their sea legs under them. And Oklahoma, conversely, Cade Womack was scheming things up and was making the Oklahoma offensive line look like the Bama offensive line from the first quarter. It was crazy how it just flipped within like 5 minutes. Like, it was just the whole dynamic of the game shifted because the offensive lines and defensive lines shifted. Like, just wild. I don't think I've seen that quick of a switch in the trench game within a game of this caliber. As far as crucial plays go, I thought the Oklahoma drive right before the end of the first quarter, where they were driving down, it looked like, they were just cooking Alabama's defense. Alabama's defense wasn't getting any rush, and they had just crossed the 50, and they had that unsportsmanlike penalty on number 55. And I mean, Brent Venables was into him, like he was just irate, and I thought that penalty really changed the outlook of this game, because then it puts him back 15 yards, ends up holding Oklahoma to a long field goal, and instead of 14-0 going into the end of the first, it's 10-0, which just feels like, it just feels like much more manageable. I don't know why, but it does. And, that's a 4-point swing right there. And so, final score was a 10-point deficit. You add those 4 points, and he makes one of those kicks, and then it's a tied game. So, well, not a tied game, but he makes both of those kicks. It's a tied game. Anyway, so I thought that play was huge for the overall outlook of the game. And then also, obviously, the Xavier Brown interception, the pick six. I thought that was a beautiful setup by Cade Womack, a play call by Cade Womack, because they had been on all the big blitzes where they had, or the times they had so many guys up on the line. They had like 8 guys on the line for this play, like they were going to rush them all. Most of the time, they'd bail like 1 or 2, and they'd play like man match or like match coverage, where like they'd be following a man across the field. And in this case, it was I don't know if it was third down or second down or whatever, but they drop a couple guys and don't rush everybody, obviously, and they just go drop zone coverage. Like he just corners a hard flat on like a corner 2 almost, a cover 2 almost, and just a hard drop zone, and it catches Mateer off guard, obviously. Like you could tell he wasn't expecting that whatsoever. Throws it right to Xavier Brown, and another pick six for Xavier Brown in a huge game. He had the one against Tennessee that ended up changing the whole outlook of the game. That was a one-score game, and then that 14-point swing. And this could have been the same thing, like a 14-point swing. They were driving. They were past the 50. Just a huge play in the overall outlook of the game. And if you consider a 14-point swing, that could change the game because Oklahoma only lost by 10. I also thought in the first quarter, or it might have been the second quarter, but it was the first touchdown drive for Alabama. What really changed the dynamic of the offense for me was it was 3rd and 5 from Alabama's own 30-yard line. They're down 17. They're on their heels. Offense really hasn't done anything, hasn't pushed the ball more than like 5 yards downfield, like a bunch of hitch routes to like Isaiah Horton and stuff. Like it wasn't like they hadn't pushed the ball downfield at all any more than like 5 yards. And 3rd and 5 from their own 30, Ty Simpson just delivers an absolute dime for the circumstances to Latsier Brooks on a corner ball. And that gain for 29 yards, essentially, like, I felt like the switch in the offense just flipped right there because they finally pushed the ball downfield, and Ty didn't really have time even in this play. Like, it wasn't like the offensive line all of a sudden gave great blocking. It was just Ty immediately took the snap, knew where he was going with it, so he starts backing up, and then off his back foot just delivers an absolute dime to Latsier Brooks, who has to kind of slow down to catch it. Great catch by him, and that completely flipped the outlook of the drive because, 3rd and 5, they're about to punt it, give Oklahoma more good field position like they had in the first quarter. But no, then it switches to good field position for them. They're at Oklahoma's 41. I thought that was a huge play in the game to get Alabama's offense finally rolling. Like I said, after that offensive flip switched, Ty looked like his old self again, like in the regular season before like the LSU game, where he was just like hitting deep balls, like the Isaiah Horton go ball where he puts it over the outside shoulder. Absolutely beautiful. And what a catch. And then all the balls to Latsier Brooks, of course, on the corner balls. And then just like the quick balls, like getting it out quick on like those 5-yard hitches, like to Cuevas and stuff. And Cuevas was like a sneaky, really good performance from him. He just got like, 5-yard catches and took them for like 10 or 11 pretty much every time. And that was huge for Alabama. So I thought Simpson looked really good, which I kind of predicted. And y'all haven't seen that yet, but I put out a Heisman prediction when I recorded with Brooks Thompson before the Ole Miss game. And I predicted Fernando to win the Heisman, which was, you can kind of see they had an easy schedule from there on out. And I also said I thought Ty would be the better quarterback by the end of the year and make a great run in the playoffs, but I thought Mendoza would win because of his easy schedule. And that very well may be true. Ty may go on a tear after this performance in the playoffs, and I'll put that clip together and show it to y'all at some point. And the reason I picked Alabama to win this game in all my brackets, my bowl prediction bracket, my college football bracket, was because I couldn't separate myself from the Alabama I had seen earlier in the season, and knowing they were getting so many guys healthy, and knowing that the season was on the line. I feel like they're very like when it comes down to we need it, they get it done kind of deal. Like it's kind of mentality. And so with the season on the line, I couldn't expect them to just go out not doing anything. I figured that earlier Bama would show up. I just could not separate myself from that earlier Bama. So yeah, knowing that was a possibility, that's why I predicted them. And just a spoiler, I might throw up my bracket on the screen at some point in this video. I got Bama going all the way to the Natty. I got them playing Georgia in the Natty, so I think that this Bama team's going to get hot and almost be like an Ohio State from last year. The other thing that was huge for Alabama was, like I said, the tackling was atrocious in the first quarter. So when the tackling started shoring up, that was the switch for the defense that they needed, because, like I said, they were flying around, but they just weren't making tackles, and that definitely changed in the second quarter, and they started making tackles that they were supposed to and making Oklahoma extend their drives. So the Oklahoma offense that looked like really good, almost as good as they had looked all season, all of a sudden had to put together these long drives, and they weren't getting as many explosive plays because of tackles. So that helped Alabama's defense. And then it's just crazy to me that even after spotting them 17 points on the road, Alabama still came back and won this game in that environment. And as far as implications go, for Bama, to me, this is sky is the limit. I mean, they could just keep improving. We finally saw a pass rush that was like consistently really good, which is so scary for the rest of the playoff teams, because I mean, you'd seen it at times throughout the season, but really they were not known for having a really good pass rush throughout the season. So that combined with the offense starting to click, I feel like they could be the next Ohio State from last year kind of thing. For Oklahoma, I will talk about the season as a whole, and if whether it was a success or not during the off season. But this one obviously really hurts. I mean, they had an electric environment put together, all the fans there, and they had all the momentum too. Went up 17 points at home. You had the laser show, you had the fans, you had the OU, all this, and Ryan Grubb just outdoes Brent Venables after the quarter and a half mark. And that, that I think this was his last year. And so, like, having that team with Mateer finally almost, it felt like fully healthy, or at least the healthiest he had been since the injury, and you had an offense that looked really good through a quarter and a half, it has to suck for the Oklahoma fan base, losing like this. And the season, I wrote down here, it sucks that Mateer's finally almost fully healthy. You finally get the ball zipping out of his hands like it used to back in like the Michigan game and the games before the injury, and then the season's just over like that. I mean, just after one game. And yeah, but guys, pray for that kicker, man. I mean, like, I feel so bad for him after having such a great season. Lou Groza winner. I think he made all of his kicks after the first kick of the year. I think he missed his first kick of the year, and then after that he made all of his kicks. Finally missed after he made a 51-yarder earlier in the game, and I was like, holy cow. And he's a lefty, and I didn't expect that. And just misses the ones in the clutch when they need them, and they need them to make it a one-score game. And they're trying to cut it to 7 and preserve as much time for a touchdown drive after an onside attempt, and he just misses both of them, and just feel so bad for that kid after having such a great year. Well, I'm about to go watch the Miami-Texas A&M game. Can't wait to watch that. I wish I could have given you a preview of that, but didn't really have time. We will give reaction for that game at some point, and can't wait. It's going to be a great one. Wind is really bad there, just like it was in Oklahoma last night. So excited for that, and I will see you all later. God bless.